There is no hood like parenthood. Hi, I'm Kanika Chadda Gupta. I'm a former CNN journalist, mom of 3, including twins, and host of That's Total Mom Sense, the podcast. Now, if I had $1 every time I heard, gee, you have your hands full. On my show, I interview change makers on their life lessons, legacy, and superpower of intuition, which I call our mom sense and dad sense. I've had the privilege of working with Mom 2.0, March of Dimes, and the White House, and have had some pretty amazing parents on my show.
Hey, what's up? I'm Kelly Rowland.
Hi, this is Chelsea Clinton.
It's me, Bobbi Brown. Can't wait to share my story.
That's Total Mom Sense is a production of the Evergreen Podcast Network. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and on YouTube so you never miss an episode. To join my tribe, visit that'stotalmomsense.com and follow me on Instagram at Kanika Chadda Gupta. Now let's dive into today's episode. Hello, listeners. With this new year comes a brand new adventure. I am thrilled to announce that That's Total Mom Sense, which recently ranked #1 for Motherhood on GoodPods, is now part of the Evergreen Podcast Network. Yay! Evergreen has a vast portfolio of shows in true crime, pop culture, comedy, and parenting, of course, and is dedicated to high production quality and the host's creative integrity. I want to thank the entire team for such a warm welcome. Gerardo, David, JP, Anne, Bridget, Samantha, all of you are incredible. For more information, visit evergreenpodcast.com. I also want to give a shout out to my team, Heather Muleman-Jenkins of Share Your Genius. She's my Chief Strategy Officer and has over 20 years of experience in marketing and PR. Chase Jennings is my Chief Branding Officer, and he is a seasoned web developer, my webmaster, and is the reason behind my beautifully designed digital footprint. So I couldn't do any of this without you, Chase. And of course, Federico Fernandez, who is my audio engineer and editor. Thank you for keeping the show's pace and top-notch production quality. It makes a huge, huge difference as I'm on this network now, and I'm excited for a brand new audience to discover it. So I just thought I'd use this opportunity as my first episode to share a bit about myself. I am Kanika Chadda Gupta. I immigrated from India when I was a toddler, so I'm a first-generation American. And, I was just 2 years old when my parents moved here. I grew up just outside DC, and I studied at Boston University and later the University of Miami, where I earned my master's in broadcast journalism. I have always been inspired by women on the airwaves, especially women of color. I grew up watching, Diane Sawyer and Barbara Walters, and loved Lisa Ling, and especially, oh my goodness, the icon, Oprah. She had an instrumental role in my life because I still remember being in middle school when I would run home off the bus, and it would be me, my mom, my sister, my grandmother, my nanny, and my aunt when she was visiting from India. We would squeeze together on a small sofa in my mom's bedroom and watch Oprah at 4:00. It was our just cherished ritual Monday through Friday. And I was so captivated by how she could do an interview. I mean, it didn't matter whether it was an ex-convict or a movie star. She had this unique ability to allow them to have the safe space, get vulnerable, and share their story in the most authentic way. And I loved it. And I knew I have the skill too. And that's why I went into journalism and knew I wanted to be on TV. And I did see through that dream. I was given a job with CNN right after I earned my master's degree, and that sent me to India. I moved out there. It was part of CNN International. And I covered everything from the 26/11 terror attacks, where I interviewed survivors who helped hundreds to safety. Luminaries like Priyanka Chopra and Sushmita Sen, Slumdog Millionaire at the Oscars, red carpet premieres. My show was called E Tonight, so I was, covering a lot of lifestyle and entertainment and human interest stories, which I still remember vividly. And I realized storytelling has always been the common denominator in my life. When I moved back to the States, I started working as an executive producer for some cable networks and then an editor in chief for a fashion retailer. And then I completely pivoted. I started a digital marketing firm, which is still there today, Chronology Agency. And then my podcast came to be. And that was the most organic out of everything. It was out of a problem I wanted to solve. I had my 3 kids in 18 months. I have to like pause there because, I had an ectopic pregnancy, which left me completely gutted. And I just thought, I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to have kids. And then a year later, I had twins, boy girl twins. I've shared this story before and, at events that I've spoken at and keynotes, but I had this vision board where I had a picture of a pink booty and a blue booty. And it was because I wanted a child, boy or girl. I didn't mind. And God gave me both. My husband and I were completely awestruck to think that my vision came true with my boy girl twins. Christian Sohana was just beyond our wildest dreams. And there's this saying in Hindi, Bhagwan jab deta hai, to chappad paar ke deta hai, which is, when God gives, sometimes he gives so much, the roof caves in. And that's exactly what happened for us. And then we had another pleasant surprise. My younger son, Shrey, was born. I got pregnant when the twins were just 9 months. I was still nursing. But lo and behold, we had our third and he completed our family. So the problem I was facing was burnout and overwhelm. I just was like, oh my gosh, I want to get all this right. And, I had the twins on a schedule. They were napping at the same time. They basically were like peeing and pooping at the same time because their feeds were also in sync. And so they just did everything simultaneously. And I needed it to be so because I wasn't going to be putting one down for a nap and then the other and then up and then there's just no way. You have to be vigilant when you have twins, triplets, and more. And so my third just kind of fell in line. And so I started like listening to parenting podcasts to just kind of make sure that I was informed and was doing everything right. Loved Mom Brain with Daphne Oz. And there were some others that I thought like, okay, this is cool. I can see how helpful this is for, an audience of moms and broadly parents. And so I decided I need to get in this space because you know what? There is no one who has my story. I'm an immigrant and, I am a proud brown mom of South Asian descent. And I don't see anyone like me in this field. And I also realized that when I was bogged down by, oh my gosh, I don't know how to do this. I need to ask my pediatrician. I need to ask my nanny. I was like, wait a minute, Kanika, you have your intuition. And sometimes, others can't really chime in and tell you what to do when it comes to your child. I already had this inner voice that was guiding me. And so that's what I call our mom sense and our dad sense. And that's how the name came to be. I was like, that's it. That's total mom sense. That's going to be the name of the show. And so after my eureka moment, I just launched in 2019 on Mother's Day. And it has been a wild ride since. And I am just so happy to be with Evergreen Podcasts now, being able to release these shows and have them as a resource for the masses and on a global scale is just the best feeling in the world. I'm glad that I can be of service to my community in this way. And I always was very clear about what the pillars are. It's to be illuminating, inclusive, and inspiring. 3 I's. Any guest that I bring on the show or any topic that we cover, it has to be that. I don't just bring on famous parents. That's not the MO at all, because anyone can do that. But I think it's the mindful ones who have achieved some level of success in their lives, but they're like, I want to create a legacy for my child now. I want to help them chart their path. And this is a life lesson that helped me do it. And now I'm doing the same thing for my kids and society at large, because we really have the biggest responsibility and privilege on earth, because we are raising this next generation of change makers and thought leaders and innovators. And that's huge. You might not think about it when you're, feeding or changing a diaper, but this child of yours could go on to drive major change in this world. Don't ever deny that. And they're going to make their impact in some way. And it's all thanks to you for being their caregiver, that they have the foundation they need to go do that. So that's always been at the core of it, is the Seva, this service that we're doing for our kids, and how we're setting them up for their own, success and happiness and prosperity in this world. Now I'll share some of my parenting tips. There are 4 of them. I love the number 4. It is my numerology number. I was born on July 4th, so let's go with it. Number 1 is be present with your kids. When we're on our phones, there's something called phubbing. It's when you snub someone because you're on your phone. According to the Journal of Adolescence, researchers have found that parental phubbing has been associated with students' depression in late childhood and adolescence. And I can totally see that. You're telling your kid that your email or, Instagram post or whatever is more important than them. And that's something that, I'm really mindful of, because I don't want them doing that to me when they are at an age where they can get phones. So I'm trying to nip that in the bud right away. Be present with them. Make sure that you're basking in every moment that you have together. And that could look like, story time at night, or even time that they're in the car. Play games, like fun road games. My son and I do this, where we tell a story and it has to have all the letters of the alphabet in it, A to Z. So it would be like, Allie the alligator is, on her way into the swamp, and then he'll pass it to me. I'll be like, boo, she sees a beaver. And you could just keep going, A, B, C, onwards to Z. So do fun things like that, because I'm telling you, they're going to become core memories for your kids. Number 2, create magical moments. I have something called Magical Mama Time, and this is a great segue, but it's something that I do with all my kids. I don't get much alone time with them. Oftentimes it's like that one random doctor's appointment that I'm like, okay, let's go to a diner after. This time is so special because, especially when you have multiples, they are vying for your attention. And if you give them this very intentional, undivided attention of yours, like, they'll always remember it. And I have a friend who, when her mom passed away, she shared this in her eulogy speech. She said that her mom would take her to the lake to feed the ducks. And that was just her one-on-one time with her mom. She had an older sister and they did something different together. But 40 years later, she's still remembering that. And that's what she wanted to share with everyone at the funeral that day. And so, believe me, it really leaves a lasting impact when you take that special time, that magical time with your kids. Number 3 is affirm, don't complain. I've learned this from my husband, who, kind of keeps me in line. I don't want to be a nag. I don't want to have a long honey-do list. And I definitely don't want to complain as much. I have a bunch of friends that I vent to. Priya, Ritu, you guys are all on my rotation. Arthi, you've heard an earful of all that I'm going through as I'm raising my 3 kids who are under 6 now. But everyone has problems. I mean, Newsflash. We all do. And thankfully, if we're in the developing world, they're not that bad. And so we should, rather than complain all the time, affirm what we are doing right. I had a great day. I had a great interview with this guest. I love that I spent one-on-one time with my youngest and we finished his dinosaur puzzle. Like, it just, those are the things you want to keep affirming as you go about the monotony of the day so that you keep going. Because no matter what, we have to wake up tomorrow and do it all over again. So you might as well make it count and be proud of all that you've achieved. And one thing that I do say in the mirror, something that I learned from Brahma Kumaris, which is an organization that I believe in, and it's truly like a philosophy of life that they teach. But it's, I am a happy soul. I have a healthy body. My relationships are in harmony. My work is perfect. My life is beautiful. And I say that in the mirror. It really just kind of sets me up for a good day. Number 4 is trust your mom sense and dad sense. Our sixth sense is our superpower. No pediatrician or nanny or your mom or mom-in-law, like, they can't really steer you on a path. You know exactly what to do with your kid. And so trust that intuition of yours and know that even as a first-time parent, you've got this. And now I want to share some advice from guests that have been on my show who are great. Chelsea Clinton, wrote a whole book called Welcome to the Big Kids Club for when her kids were expecting siblings. And, she's an only child, so she never experienced this, but she knew that it was something that she wanted to provide for her kids, how they could be responsible big brothers and big sisters and help with the baby. So I love that we had that exchange and related on that level because she was the first daughter that I just grew up with. I'm from Maryland, and I remember, going to the White House on occasions for the Easter egg roll. My mom would take me and my cousins. I mean, anytime I set foot on the grounds, I just thought, wow, I wonder what Chelsea's room looks like and what she's doing right now. What homework is she working on, or what instrument does she play? And so to think that I met her as a fellow mom of 3 now, it was just really, really sweet. Bobbi Brown says to get over it, get over yourself, and get out there. And she gave this advice to a commencement during 2020. And it's something that, in the pandemic, we had to hear. No, it's not the best job market when it's COVID. And now that we're through the weeds of all of that, there might be another thing that kind of throws a wrench in our world. But know that you have to get over it. You have to get over yourself, and you have to put yourself out there and keep going. And I think it's a great rally cry for those who are teenagers about to start work and parents to lean from. Another great piece of advice was from Rebecca Minkoff. And, we met in person in New York and, did the interview, and it was just really lovely to meet her. Becky, if you're listening, I admire you so deeply. But she, talked about her career trajectory and how her parents raised her and her brother Yuri. And they were just adamant about having them be responsible for themselves, and that included financially. And so they had this ledger in the kitchen. This is when they were like little kids, where they had an allowance. And when Rebecca was 8, she saw a dress that she wanted, and she asked her mom if she could buy it. And her mom said, "No, sweetie, you don't have enough allowance money for that." So she said, "But I will take you to the fabric store and I can teach you how to sew." And so she did that, and she really took to it. I mean, by 9 years old, she had a whole wardrobe that she sewed herself and really enjoyed fashion. And upon graduating high school, she moved straight to New York and was like, "I'm going to work for a designer because I know this is what I want to do." And now Rebecca Minkoff is the, moniker we all know and revere. And it's because she learned that life lesson from her mom early on. as parents, sometimes we have to make the tough decisions. There's times we're like, okay, here's a tablet, or okay, here's the toy that you wanted. But when you make a child really value it and work for it, they could probably create their entire livelihood around it. Like that's what happened to Rebecca. So it's impactful these lessons are. Another one is with Kelly Rowland. She opened up about how she had an estranged father raised by her single mom, Doris. And even when she was touring with Destiny's Child, her dad would just kind of hang outside and security would turn him away. She would be, touring all over the country and he'd kind of go see where she was performing and they knew just turn him away. Like she didn't want to have anything to do with him. And she, rose to fame when she was a teenager, but just felt like, a resentment because her mom had to do everything on her own. But after her mom passed away, she reconciled with her dad and got to hear his side of the story. And, we have to respect that two married people have their own challenges that they're navigating, but they're two individuals all the same. And so even as their children, we can look at that objectively. So now her dad is such an involved grandfather in her son's lives. And she is so happy for it. She's so happy she forgave him. She realized that there's a lot of things that it wasn't her fight to fight. And, she's happy she has a parent involved in her kids' lives. And so that's such a beautiful turn of events. And the fact that we can find forgiveness in our hearts is huge. So that's really why I host this show. I have to say, I love meeting all these incredible people and luminaries. And then it's like, let's get deep. Tell me something that you were grappling with in your life that shook you, a time where you had to work for something and had that change you and had that set you up. And now how are we going to do that for our kids? That's the big question, right? So, oh my gosh, I could talk about this all day, but I hope you stick around and enjoy all the light that is shared from my guests on That's Total Mom Sense and me by way of my stories. And, as usual, you can log on to that'stotalmomsense.com, my website, which was so beautifully crafted. And you'll find the audio versions of episodes, YouTube podcasts. You'll be able to see me interact with my guests in person. So watch all of that. And you can, of course, subscribe to the show on Spotify, Apple, GoodPods, whatever player of choice. And episodes release every Thursday. And if you rate, review, I will share these reviews going forward. I'm going to start this up again. And I love that I get to, start afresh with Evergreen because this is Evergreen content on Evergreen Podcast Network. Write to me at that'stotalmomsense@gmail.com. My team and I read every single message and fan letter and feedback. You can follow me on Instagram at Kanika Chadda Gupta. I do the same with the DMs. And I'm so grateful to have you in my corner. Remember, always trust your mom sense and dad sense. Stay strong, super parents. I'll see you next time.
That's Total Mom Sense.